Welcome back to ViralReaction. I'm Vicky.
Peter here.
Welcome to today's reaction episode.
Yeah.
Whereby we're back with it's like a story, a video, a story of JimHendrix.
Yeah.
And the story is titled The London Story.
The London Story about JimHendrix.
Exactly. So, okay, we've been listening recently more of JimHendrix songs.
Yeah.
We started exploring his songs recently and we noticed the great guitars in him. So let's find out much about his story, maybe his background. Hopefully we're gonna get those in this video, so stay tuned. This was courtesy of Dan. Thank you so much, Dan, for this. Thank you for the support as well. But guys, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for introducing us to JimHendrix.
Yes.
And guys, don't forget that this is what we do here each and every day. So subscribing is worth it. Subscribe here, and for any song request or bring us any of your favorite song, artist, or even a movie. Check that or check us on our Buy Me Coffee link. Check the link on our channel's description. We have also a Patreon, so more information is on our channel's description. For today is the London story about JimHendrix. So let's go. Enjoy with us.
Was buzzing with creativity, a world capital of fashion, music, and youth culture. Into this vibrant scene stepped a young American guitarist named JimHendrix.
Yeah.
He arrived at
So he is referred to as guitarist. Oh, wow.
Oh, he's American, huh?
Oh, yeah, American guitarist.
London Airport on the 24th of September, 1966, as an unknown virtuoso carrying little more than a white Fender Stratocaster, a few changes of clothes, some hair curlers, and a tube of acne cream. Chaz Chandler, former bassist of the Animals turned talent manager, had discovered Hendrix playing in a New York club and was convinced he'd found someone extraordinary.
Okay, so the manager to the Animals. You remember the Animals?
Yeah, by the way, he did Animals way back.
Way back. Yeah. If you are their fans, please.
I think it's time to get introduced back again.
Yeah, because we have we have heard of their their manager he said he convinced that
he noticed JimHendrix playing, and he was convinced that he found someone extraordinary. Wow.
No, he thought musically he was the best guitarist, just as the way Dan told us.
Yeah.
And we have also witnessed that.
Yeah, the guitarist legend.
Let's go.
I thought musically he was the best guitarist I'd ever seen, Chandler later remarked of the first time he saw Jimmy perform.
So we went down to the Cafe War in Greenwich Village, and Jimmy was there. It was like a pickup band he just met that afternoon. And the first song Jimmy played was HeyJoe.
HeyJoe?
Yeah.
Voice is simply faster, more natural, and more flexible.
We'll be experiencing this, huh? Sorry for the advert. Let's go. We have heard from the ex-manager who was also the ex-manager to the Animal.
Chandler lured Hendrix to Britain with the promise of opportunity and the chance to meet London's rock royalty.
When the Animals broke up, I was going to bring Hendrix to England and record HeyJoe. We sat talking after I'd seen him play, talked about the theory of coming to England and forming a group and playing. He had a lot of doubts about coming to England. His actual words to me at the time was, "What's the point in me going to England as a guitar player?" He says, "You've got Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck over there." He says, "You don't need one more guitar player." And I said, "Well, I'm sure that if Eric and Jeff see you, that they're going to end up like admiring your playing." I said, "You know," he said, and he turned around. He said, "Well, look," he says, "I know you know Eric and all that, because, you know, Yardbirds days and all this." He said, "If you guarantee me he'll introduce us to Eric Clapton, I'll come to London."
Yeah.
From the moment Hendrix set foot in London, things moved at lightning speed. On his very first evening in the city, he was taken to the Scotch of St. James nightclub, a hotspot for musicians and trendsetters. Although Hendrix technically had no work visa, he couldn't resist jamming on stage. London's in-crowd watched in astonishment as this flamboyantly attired left-handed guitarist casually plugged in and unleashed sounds unlike anything they'd heard. In the small audience was a 20-year-old DJ and hairdresser named Kathy Etchingham. She was struck by Hendrix's performance and his magnetic aura. They chatted that night after his set, and a spark ignited between them almost immediately. In normal life, he was a quiet, rather shy man, articulate and intelligent, Kathy would recall, noting the contrast between...
Like in normal life, Jimi is a quiet, shy man.
Yeah.
Wow. And on stage, you can see how much he's always so energetic.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
like...
So engaging with
So
his
there are
guitar.
two different people, on stage and in real life.
Real life.
Okay.
Hendrix's bashful offstage demeanour and his explosive stage presence. That very night, Jimi and Kathy began a romance, and by the next day she had virtually moved in with him.
Oh!
It was the start of a passionate, tumultuous relationship that would span the next 2.5 years.
Jimi Hendrix hit the London scene like a bomb. Every band, every guitarist wanted to see him.
Hendrix quickly became the talk of London's music scene. Word spread among the city's top rock musicians that an exceptional new talent had arrived. True to his word, Chas Chandler began introducing Jimi to his British contemporaries. 1 week after his arrival, on the 1st of October 1966, Chandler brought Hendrix to London Polytechnic, where the supergroup Cream was performing. Eric Clapton, widely revered at the time as the top guitar god in England, agreed to let Hendrix join them on stage for a jam.
Okay.
Hendrix strapped on his guitar and launched into Howlin' Wolf's Killing Floor at breakneck speed. He played the guitar behind his head and with his teeth pouring showmanship and soul into every note. The club audience of seasoned rockers and musicians stood dumbfounded.
Jimi's first real appearance in London was jamming with the Cream just down the road from here. And I'll never forget Eric's face. Ginger, you know, he said he was a bit concerned of somebody jamming. He was very aware that it was a very important time for Cream to break. And he regarded the gig as very important. And he said, well, Jimi can come on stage, but Eric's got to stay there to keep him straight. Well, Jimi started playing and Eric just put his guitar down and walked off and just come and stood and watched. He was great. I mean,
Eric Clapton himself was so shocked by Jimi's skill that partway through the song, he reportedly walked off to the side of the stage to light a cigarette, hands trembling. He got up and blew everyone's mind, Clapton said later, describing his disbelief at Hendrix's talent.
Yeah.
In the dressing room afterward, a flabbergasted Clapton confessed to Chandler, "You never told me he was that good." That night, the reigning king of British guitar had effectively crowned a successor. The news of Hendrix's prowess rippled through London's musical community. Members of The Who, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and every major band in town soon knew that they had to see this sensational American guitarist for themselves.
Wow, imagine everyone, I don't know how Jimi felt at the moment.
Yeah.
Imagine you just landed and you're kind of new in London and everyone now wants to see this amazing guitarist that everyone is talking about. And you're hearing bands like Beatles, Rolling Stone, like they want to see these amazing guitarists.
Exactly.
So,
and his past performance, he came with that. You saw that playing from his back, playing the
I think that was his tactics.
Yeah, his signature. But he's amazing. Let's continue.
Very, very.
Yeah.
Chandler wasted no time turning Hendrix's potential into a career. He set about assembling a British backing band that would complement Jimi's incendiary guitar work. Auditions were arranged to find suitable musicians.
Wow.
Noel Redding, a young guitarist with a head of wild hair, was invited to try out. Though to his surprise, Chandler asked him to play bass.
Noel came up to try and get an audition for the New Animals as a guitar player. This guy walked in with a haircut the same as Hendrix. And I said, well, Vic Briggs has got the gig with the Animals, but I'm looking for a bass player with this guy I brought from the States. I said, he's such an amazing guitar player, you might want you'll see him and want to pack the guitar in and go to bass, you know. So I whipped Noel down that day, and he borrowed my bass guitar. He never played bass before. And him and Jimi sat there for about 2 hours, and Jimi said, hey, I like this guy. That's the first one.
Hendrix liked Noel's look and vibe, and Noel quickly picked up the bass lines to Jimi's songs. Shortly thereafter, a skilled London drummer named Mitch Mitchell, fresh from Georgie fame's Blue Flames, came on board after impressing Jimi with his jazz-influenced rhythmic flair.
Mitch Mitchell had just split up with the Blue Flames, and he was looking for a gig. And it was a toss-up between Ainsley Dunbar and Mitch Mitchell, and literally we spun a coin. We couldn't make our minds up, and it fell for Mitch.
By October 1966, the lineup was set. The trio dubbed themselves the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and they played their first...
Now they became the trio. The three of them, they have the same hairstyle.
Yes.
Yeah, and they became the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Oh, that's why we the song we did, it was written Jimi Hendrix Experience. So it was kind of his band.
Yeah, with the three of them, I can remember Michi. The first one was
Someone Reading.
Yeah.
Reading.
By the way,
Noel Reading.
Noel Reading. So it's Jimi, Noel Reading, and Michi. Now we know the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Okay.
Gigs in France and around the UK that autumn.
Well, the boys have got a new one out on the 17th of March, and this one's going to really take the market by storm. So let's hear once again the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Okay.
On stage, the chemistry between Hendrix, Reading and Mitchell was electric.
Yeah.
Off stage, the soft-spoken Hendrix bonded with his new English bandmates over a shared excitement for pushing musical boundaries. The experience was ready to make its mark, and London would be the launch pad.
Imagine conducting...
Sorry about that.
Oh. Now we know.
Wow.
About...
Now the band is getting hot.
Yeah. Let's go to the experience.
In the
now.
winter of 1967, Jimi Hendrix went from curiosity to bona fide star in Britain. The Jimi Hendrix Experience's debut single, Hey Joe, hit the UK airwaves in December '66 and climbed the charts in early '67.
Hey Joe, where you going with that gun of yours?
Audiences were captivated by Hendrix's bluesy vocals and the way his guitar could snarl one moment and sigh the next. He followed quickly with the psychedelic rocker PurpleHaze and the wistful ballad The Wind Cries Mary. Both released in the spring of 1967 and both becoming top 10 hits.
Wind scream, Mary.
Hendrix's first album, tellingly titled Are You Experienced, was released in May. It was a revolutionary record, a kaleidoscope of feedback, distortion and innovation that announced Hendrix as a creative force in rock music.
So he also had albums. I think we'll start revisiting the albums.
Yeah, he said the
one
first
by
album
one.
is You Experienced.
Yes.
Or You Experienced, something like that.
Yeah. But the others were the singles.
Singles, yeah. Hey Joe!
British listeners who had been weaned on the Beatles and the Stones suddenly found a new kind of guitar hero in Hendrix, one who married American blues roots with the experimental spirit of the swinging 60s.
I thought at first that, his band, The Experience, I thought it was a bit of a mistake. I
think we ever did Eric Clapton.
Yeah. Should have had a band, at least an American band, whether they were white or black, didn't matter, as long as they kind of knew the music they were playing. I felt that Chaz had really just picked up two free musicians who were in the rock field loosely. I think Mitch before that was playing with sort of Georgie Fame and more into a jazz thing. I don't know what Noel was doing, but it didn't take him long. Once Jimmy sort of introduced him to his music, they really got into it very quickly.
On stage, Hendrix was absolutely mesmerizing. He treated performance like a form of theatre and primal ritual combined. By now, he had cultivated a striking image. Wild afro hair topped with a hat, gaudy military-style jackets, flowing scarves, and rings on every finger. Audiences watched in awe as he would hammer out blistering riffs, then gently coax wailing feedback from his amplifiers. One infamous night, the 31st of March 1967, Hendrix pushed his showmanship to new heights. Appearing at the Finsbury Park Astoria in London as part of a package tour, he ended his set with an unprecedented stunt. He doused his guitar in lighter fluid and set it on fire on stage.
What?
Oh.
Flames leapt from the sacrifice as Hendrix knelt over his burning Fender Stratocaster, hands raised as if in worship. The crowd was astonished, some thrilled, some horrified, and the British press promptly anointed Hendrix the wild man of rock. The guitar burning made headlines and only added to his legend.
That's wild.
No one had ever seen an artist treat his instrument with such destructive love, as if saying that
I was like, a guitar is like something it's precious to him. Why burn it? So it's like a way to, maybe he had on his own reasons for doing that, because it's like he was kind of bowing or something. So it's.
But it made what he wanted it to be. It became a trend.
Yes.
It was on the magazines on the next day.
Okay, and of course people took it differently.
It came from the headlights. It hit the
create
headlights.
truly new art, one must be willing to destroy old constraints. Yet for all his flamboyance in concert, Hendrix remained disarmingly soft-spoken and polite offstage. In private, he could be found quietly noodling on an acoustic guitar or tinkering with song ideas on bits of paper. Kathy Etchingham, who by 1967 was sharing a flat with Jimi, remembers that away from the limelight he was often gentle and reserved.
But this was like a retreat. We could get away from everybody and all that madness, and so no, it was wonderful because it was a home. It was a proper home where you got up in the morning and had a cup of tea. Well, we didn't get up in the morning exactly. We got up in the afternoon.
You hear that?
They can't get up in the morning.
Yeah, they usually wake up in the afternoon because all night long they were.
Of course, they have been performing.
Yeah.
That's right.
He loved nothing more than to spend a lazy afternoon with her, lounging about their apartment, watching British soap operas, or listening to records.
Okay.
Jimi could walk down the road, go to HMV and no one would bother us, Kathy said of those early days of fame, recalling how the pair enjoyed a relatively normal life together before true superstar celebrity descended. They lived for a time in a modest flat in Montague Square, on loan from Ringo Starr of the Beatles, where Hendrix delighted in decorating the space with colourful rugs, psychedelic...
So the space that they were living was loaned from Ringo Starr. Okay.
Wow, interesting.
posters, and his ever-growing collection of guitars. Amid the chaos of touring and studios, this flat became a sanctuary for Jimi. A place where he could be himself, away from screaming fans and press. It was during one quiet domestic moment here that Hendrix wrote "The Wind Cries Mary." After a lover's quarrel in which Kathy, frustrated by unwashed dishes, smashed a frying pan down in exasperation, Jimi spent the next day penning a poetic song to make amends, using Kathy's middle name, Mary, in the title. Their romance was woven into his music. As 1967 wore on, the experience captivated not just Britain, but all of Europe. They toured extensively, Jimi's guitar pyrotechnics leaving audiences speechless in Paris, Stockholm.
If you look younger than your age.
Sorry.
Now he started touring now in Europe.
Exactly.
Let's see the experience now, where it goes.
I feel like we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
After one London club show, the venue's owner had to literally mop the stage because, as one observer quipped, there were guitar players weeping. Hendrix had played so brilliantly that fellow musicians in attendance felt their own prowess diminished. Indeed, at a show at the Bag O' Nails Club in London, the small room was packed with rock luminaries, members of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, Pete Townsend of The Who and more, all craning to see this new sensation. Kevin Ayers, a singer present that night, noted he heard astonished murmurs. "Jesus, bloody hell," whispered by Britain's rock elite as they witnessed Hendrix perform. Jimi was turning the tables. The guitar heroes who had influenced him were now coming to learn from him.
And he had the club on his feet, you know, from the word go. They couldn't believe it. It was just solid musicians, the whole club. You know. He was incredible. He really was.
Probably saw his first gig in London, which was at the Bag O' Nails, and we were just there one night having a drink, and he just ambled up on the stage in that manner he had.
That's fun.
And he was just a beautiful guy, and he just wound up the Marshalls, and just started playing very loud. And we were there, and the next time he played the Bag O' Nails, then it was more homage. People knew he was going to be there, so I remember one night, me, Townsend and Eric we're all there in the audience kind of going, this is good.
This is Johnny B. Good. I mean, this guy is completely out there. I mean, I've never heard anybody play electric guitar like
this
that.
is Johnny B. Good.
No one even has...
That's really amazing and impressive that the story of John B. Good in the song, a guy whom the guitars made him famous, he's now a Hendrix.
No one even in the same building with that guy, in the same level. There's no one.
Hendrix's explosive success in the UK set the stage for a triumphant return to his homeland. Though he was a star across the Atlantic, in the United States, Jimi Hendrix was still largely unknown. That is, until the Monterey Pop Festival in June 1967. The Monterey International Pop Festival, held in California during the famous Summer of Love, was a perfect platform for Hendrix's American debut. In fact, it was Paul McCartney who insisted the festival book Hendrix, having seen firsthand how extraordinary Jimi was.
He was not arrogant in the least, and he was just a great guy, the kind of person you want to know, you know? Very self-effacing about his music.
Hendrix took the stage at Monterey on the 18th of June, 1967, as the final act on Sunday night.
Oh, I should have put you, baby, a long time ago. I should have put you in a...
Dressed in a flamboyant pink feather boa and a jacket festooned with psychedelic patterns, he faced an audience that included not only hippie concert goers, but also many of his American musical peers seeing him for the first time. What followed was one of the most legendary performances in rock history. Hendrix and his band tore through songs with raw intensity. Hey Joe, Purple Haze, blowing minds with furious guitar solos that seemed to defy reality. Most memorably, as a climax, Hendrix repeated his London ritual of guitar immolation. Under swirling stage lights, he set his Stratocaster on fire, then smashed the charred remains on the stage in a frenzy of showmanship. Pete Townsend of The Who, himself known for smashing guitars, looked on from the side, utterly astonished. The crowd erupted. In a single night, Jimi Hendrix went from cult UK act to an overnight sensation in America. The US media raced to report on the Wild Man of Monterey and his flaming guitar. Even hardened concert promoters.
So everyone is now referring him like the Wild Man. And then the flaming guitar. I think now he's doing it for the second time.
And let's say whenever he burns the guitar, does the guitar get destroyed or spoiled?
Because you can see he burns, then he hits it on the ground. I think maybe it destroys, then he gets another one.
It's working for him.
Fellow musicians conceded they had witnessed something transformative. After Monterey, Jimi Hendrix was a superstar on both sides of the Atlantic.
Wow.
By the end of 1967, Hendrix found himself catapulted to the top tier of rock music. The sudden fame was exhilarating but also daunting. His days were now a whirlwind of touring, recording, press interviews and public appearances. In a span of mere months, Jimi had gone from playing tiny clubs to headlining major venues and festivals. Early in 1968, the Jimi Hendrix Experience even embarked on a tour through the United States where curious American fans finally got to see this British conquering phenom live. The shows often sold out, and Hendrix did not disappoint, setting amplifiers ablaze, sometimes literally, coaxing otherworldly sounds from his guitar, and leaving stages littered with splintered instruments and stunned crowds. The Experience's reputation as an unmissable live act was now firmly established worldwide. Amid the hectic tour schedule, Hendrix somehow managed to keep creating new music at an astonishing pace. In December 1967, just 7 months after the debut album, The Experience released a second album, Axis, Bold as Love.
There was no beginning and end to our albums. It was just a constant recording whenever I had an opportunity.
Although rushed by record label deadlines, it showcased Hendrix's evolving songwriting and studio experimentation, from the tender psychedelia of LittleWing to the playful phasing effects of If 6 Was 9.
Oh wow, If 6 Was 9? That's creative. Now we have the second album. Huh?
Yes.
And we are ready for both of them. Huh?
I think we have it.
Yeah, let's go.
It's alright.
If 6 was 9.
Jimi's inventive use of the recording studio as an instrument was becoming apparent. He loved to tinker with new guitar effects, backward tapes, and stereo panning to craft rich sonic tapestries. Critics and fans praised the album, and Hendrix's peers in the industry began to acknowledge him not just as a performer, but as a creative innovator.
Jimi's guitar is obviously a little rougher, and it's not quite formulated there, but the basic idea is very good.
We'd learn the tunes in the studio.
Not ready.
Hendrix would show me the tunes. I'd learn them on the guitar normally, and we'd suss out the tempo, and we'd actually just run through it. By which time, Chaz had actually recorded it.
I must admit, from my side, I enjoy spending time in the studio to see what you can do and what's possible.
Behind the scenes, though, success brought new pressures. Hendrix was a perfectionist, and as he envisioned more complex sounds, he started spending long, all-night sessions in the studio, chasing the musical textures he heard in his head. On the personal front, 1968 found Jimi's life growing more complicated. Fame brought wealth and all the trappings of rock stardom. Fancy sports cars, late-night parties, and plentiful drugs. The once teetotal Hendrix, who, Kathy noted, drank only fruit juice when he first arrived in London, was now indulging in alcohol.
So fame is coming with money, and money is now coming with so much luxury. Imagine someone who used to drink just juice, and now indulging in drugs and clubbing and all that. Okay.
Let's see how it ended.
Yeah.
And psychedelics like LSD with increasing frequency.
Jimi had the ability to take LSD, take more than the average person. His body had this tolerance that was remarkable for his size.
I found that Jimi was taking a lot of acid, and he had been during the course of that album that I wasn't aware of. I mean, the man had an incredible constitution. You didn't actually detect the man was on a trip when he was on one. Among a lot of people in that era, the love generation, if you like, the religious attitude to LSD, that it was going to solve all the problems in the world, and a lot of people fell into it. And Dad tried very hard to convince Jimi that he shouldn't be dropping acid.
He had a mission, and I keep saying that, and I say he had a place to go, and he didn't necessarily know how he was going to get there. But he found that out too, and I just think it was through that LSD. I think that because it opened his head up.
In their offstage hours, Jimi and Kathy would still share intimate moments, sipping sweet wine and listening to Bob Dylan records, but cracks in their relationship had begun to appear. Hendrix was often on the road or in the studio, and when he was home in London, their flat turned into a social hub for Jimi's ever-expanding entourage. Kathy found herself playing host to an endless parade of friends, fellow musicians, and hangers-on who drifted in and out at all hours. Privacy became scarce. Jimi's flirtations with the many female admirers who flocked around him grew more blatant, testing Kathy's patience. For his part, Hendrix could be possessive and jealous if Kathy even spoke to other men, yet he struggled to stay faithful himself given the constant temptation of groupies, whom he jokingly dubbed Band-Aids, as Kathy later revealed. Despite these strains, Hendrix still cherished having a home base in London with Kathy. In 1968, they moved into a new flat at 23 Brook Street in Mayfair, notably a property adjacent to the former home of Baroque composer George Friedrich Handel. Hendrix was delighted by this historical coincidence. On learning that Handel had composed music next door 2 centuries earlier, Jimi ran out to buy a copy of Handel's Messiah on vinyl, eager to connect with the classical spirit in the walls. He even whimsically claimed to have seen Handel's Ghost one lonely night. Decorating their love nest became a shared adventure. Jimi and Kathy adorned the flat in bohemian style with tapestries, plush cushions, and Indian incense, mixing rock and roll eccentricity with cozy domesticity.
Wow.
That flat was the only home I ever had, Hendrix said fondly. Indeed, for a while, life at Brook Street provided a slice of normalcy. The couple would sleep into the afternoon after late nights out, then spend lazy days brewing tea, chatting, and even going ice skating in Hyde Park like an ordinary young pair in love. Hendrix, for all his fame, could sometimes stroll down to the local record shop unbothered, or drop by the corner pub with Kathy to share a quiet pint. Within the cocoon of their flat, he wasn't a rock god. He was just Jimi.
So at least now they're having some privacy.
After they have
they moved out.
Located and they say they were a shy young man. That's where we are.
A shy young man who liked simple pleasures.
Yeah.
As 1968 progressed, however, Jimi's dual life, the gentle homebody versus the frenetic superstar, became ever harder to reconcile.
Okay.
In the spring of 1968, The Experience started work on what would become their third album, Electric Ladyland. This project was Hendrix's grand artistic statement, a sprawling double LP meant to capture the full range of his vision. He took the lead in the studio, determined to perfect every note and experiment with every sound technique available. The recording sessions often stretched till dawn, with Hendrix obsessively overdubbing guitar parts or coaxing novel noises from feedback.
We would like to make an apology for taking so very long to send this, but we have been working very hard indeed during shows and recording.
His quest for perfection was inspirational, but it was also exhausting everyone around him. Chandler, who had been co-managing and producing Hendrix's music, found the Electric Ladyland sessions chaotic and interminable, a far cry from the brisk, focused work on the first album. Frustrated by Jimi's insistence on re-recording solos for the 20th time or entertaining a room full of idle friends in the control room, Chas Chandler eventually threw up his hands and quit the project.
And then we went into the studio to record Electric Ladyland, and he would turn up with 30 hangers on who would be lying around the studio.
What?
Maybe?
30. I think he was fond of just hanging around with many people.
But how can he be shy at home, but he has a lot of friends?
By the way, or maybe people are taking advantage of him.
But also maybe their friends is so accommodative.
He's so accommodative. That's why
yeah.
Maybe he's not that person to say no.
But remember, you're having a friend. Jimi is your friend, and tells you that today in the evening I'll be recording. Who doesn't want to see him recording? Yeah, that is it.
And Jimi would proceed then to play for them, not for the tape machines. And I would be sitting there in the control room for 5 days, going over one song over and over again. That because of the dope and things Jimi was into, we couldn't get through to him that we got it right the first time. And here we were with only 3 backing tracks in the can, and I just felt useless. I was sitting there, nothing I said was taken as useful, because I wasn't dropping acid with them, therefore I wasn't connecting with them and their religious trip thing that they were in. So I thought, well, I've done all I can here, I'm off.
Now the manager quit.
Yes, he quit.
Because he saw that they were really taking a lot of time on the recordings. They have to re-record because
for a day you have to record.
Because he can lose attention. Yeah, let's continue.
He would no longer serve as Hendrix's producer or manager by the middle of 1968. This was a significant turning point. Chandler had been one of Jimi's earliest champions and a stabilizing mentor figure. With Chandler gone, Hendrix fell more under the influence of his other manager, Michael Jeffrey, and took on greater control of his musical direction, for better and worse. The other members of The Experience also began to feel the strain. Noel Redding in particular grew weary of being relegated to a supporting role, while Hendrix explored. In truth, Hendrix's musical mind was expanding beyond the simple trio format. On Electric Ladyland, he invited numerous guests into the studio, other guitarists, keyboard players, backing singers, and he even handled bass guitar on several tracks himself, leaving Noel with little to do on some songs. Noel, a guitarist at heart, saw his own contributions sidelined. Tensions simmered on a personal level too. Noel and Jimi's communication had never been very in-depth. Jimi was friendly but somewhat aloof, often lost in his own world, and now it deteriorated further amid marathon recording nights and drug use. Drummer Mitch Mitchell managed to stay on Jimi's wavelength musically, providing the nimble, jazz-inflected drumming Hendrix loved, but even Mitch grew frustrated at times waiting around during endless studio takes. Despite the behind-the-scenes troubles, Electric Ladyland was released in October 1968 to critical acclaim and commercial success.
When that album came out, man, I mean, it just... it just cinched it for him. He was absolutely the man on the scene.
Electric Ladyland, I'd say, was, if you play it now, is well ahead of its time, and it's still valid musically.
It became Hendrix's first #1 album in the US. Songs like his psychedelic reimagining of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower showcased a genius at his peak.
Yeah, that whole LP means so much. You know, it wasn't just slopped together. Every little thing that you hear on there means something. You know, it's not no game that we're playing.
Yeah.
Beautiful album. I think it's a well-balanced album. And it definitely broke some rules, and it pushed the boundaries way, way out there. I mean, that's probably the most experimental album that Jimi had ever done.
Jimi's artistry seemed untouchable, yet those close to him could see the toll that fame and constant work were taking. Hendrix was using drugs more heavily now, cannabis and LSD frequently, and occasionally cocaine, to cope with stress and spark creativity.
I'm in my dressing room, Rabbit comes in, he says, "Hey Mark, man," he said, "Jimi wants to see you." I said, "Okay, man, I'll get some dry clothes on, I'll be right over." So I go over to Jimi's dressing room, and he says, "Brother Mark, how you doing?" We give each other a hug, and then I look over, and dude, on the table they got these look like snowdrifts of lines up there, you know, and I'm going, oh my God.
His temper, usually mild, could flare unpredictably when he was high or when something didn't go right. In one incident in early 1968, during a tour stop in Sweden, an intoxicated Hendrix got into a destructive argument with Noel Redding and punched his hand through a plate glass window, badly cutting himself and earning a night in a Gothenburg jail cell. He laughed it off afterward, but such flashes of anger were a new and worrying development. For Kathy Etchingham, life with Jimi had become an emotional roller coaster. At times he was sweet and tender, the man who lovingly called her "My Mary" and wrote songs for her. Other times, especially under the influence of various substances, he could be moody, even aggressive. Increasingly, Kathy found herself caught in volatile scenes. Things could get volatile, she admitted of that period. One night, an argument with Jimi over a trivial matter escalated to the point where he chased her into the street and grabbed at her clothing in a jealous rage, accidentally tearing her dress off in public. Though they would reconcile, these episodes left Kathy shaken. "I've got a survival instinct," she later reflected. "I was going to carry on my life and not become a drug addict." By the end of 1968, after nearly 3 years by Hendrix's side, Kathy realized she could no longer live in the eye of this storm. The simple romance they once shared had become overwhelmed by Hendrix's rock star lifestyle. The non-stop parties, the other women, and the creeping chaos that seemed to surround him. Early in 1969, Kathy Etchingham made the painful decision to leave Jimi Hendrix for good, marrying another man in hopes of finding steadiness. Hendrix was devastated when Kathy left. He reportedly checked into the Cumberland Hotel and wandered London aimlessly for a time, feeling the absence of the woman he had called my past girlfriend, my present girlfriend, and probably my future girlfriend, my Yoko Ono. But he also understood why she had to go. The forces pulling on him, the demands of fame, the temptations of excess, had made a normal relationship nearly impossible.
Okay.
I learned...
Wow, now it's getting worse, huh?
Yeah.
Now
like Kathy is off his life, and he's kind of missing her, but at some point he understands why Kathy has to leave, because he says that a normal relationship made nearly impossible.
Yeah, the ups and downs.
1969 proved to be a year of upheaval and transformation for Jimi Hendrix. As the year began, the Jimi Hendrix Experience was still one of the hottest acts on the planet. Yet internally, the band was nearing its breaking point. The trio soldiered on through early 1969 with extensive touring, including major venues like London's Royal Albert Hall in February.
Wow.
Those Albert Hall concerts, filmed for a potential documentary, would be the last European shows of the original Experience lineup. By this time, Noel Redding's relationship with Hendrix had deteriorated significantly. The two hardly spoke off stage. Noel felt underappreciated and overshadowed, while Jimi was chafing at any limits to his musical experimentation.
Sometimes we get some gigs that used to say Jimi Hendrix, and we'd all freak out, and even Hendrix would freak out, and someone would go out the front with a mark and put the experience underneath it. Hendrix was always saying that this is a three-piece band, which it was, and obviously he was the front man, the guy leaping about and doing all that sort of stuff, but he couldn't have done it without Mitchell himself. Yeah. So, you know.
Audiences still clamoured to hear the big hits. Hey Joe, PurpleHaze, but Hendrix grew bored repeating the same songs night after night. He longed to improvise freely and introduce new material into the set, even if it meant veering away from what made him famous. The tension between giving the crowd what it expected and pursuing his artistic impulses was coming to a head. The breaking point arrived midway through 1969. The Jimi Hendrix Experience performed at the Denver Pop Festival on the 29th of June, a show that turned out to be their final appearance as a trio. Backstage at Denver, Jimi casually mentioned to a reporter that he was thinking of expanding his band, adding additional musicians to broaden the sound. He hadn't discussed this plan with Noel Redding, who only learned of it when the journalist's questions hinted at Noel's potential replacement. Feeling blindsided and insulted, Noel reached the end of his tether. After the show, which ended chaotically amid police tear gas used to control a rowdy crowd, Noel decided he was done. The recording sessions were chaos, and on stage it was getting ridiculous, Noel Redding said of those final months. That night in Denver, Noel simply walked up to Hendrix, shook his hand goodbye, and announced he was leaving. He immediately booked a flight back to London, effectively quitting the band on the spot. I went up to Jimi that night, said goodbye, and caught the next plane back to London. Jimi phoned and asked me to come back, but I said, "Stuff it." Noel recounted of his bitter departure. Hendrix was disappointed, but not entirely surprised. In truth, he too sensed that the experience had run its course. Rather than try to dissuade Noel, Jimi accepted that a change was due. And so, in the summer of 1969, the Jimi Hendrix Experience disbanded. It was the end of an era, the close of a brilliant chapter that had seen Hendrix rise from obscurity to global stardom. But Hendrix himself viewed it not as an ending, but as an opportunity for rebirth. Always seeking new sounds, he was already dreaming up his next musical project, one that would break the power trio mold. He reconnected with an old army buddy from his brief military days, Billy Cox, a solid bass player with deep roots in blues and soul. Billy Cox had a warm, steady presence and had jammed with Jimi back when they were US paratroopers in training. Hendrix invited Cox to join him, and Billy gladly flew to New York to reunite with his friend. On drums, Hendrix enlisted Buddy Miles, a powerhouse R&B drummer whose funky, hard-hitting style promised to drive Jimi's new music in a fresh direction. This new trio, Hendrix, Cox and Miles, would eventually be christened Band of Gypsies. But before formally unveiling the Band of Gypsies, Hendrix had another historic engagement on the horizon, Woodstock.
The Woodstock Music and Art Fair, the 3-day Aquarian Exposition at White Lake and Bethel, New York, will give you uncomplicated, unhurried, calm days of peace and music. Friday, August 15th, you'll hear stars such as Joan Baez, Arlo Guthrie, Tim Hardin, Richie Havens, Ravi Shankar, and many others. Saturday, August 16th, Canned Heat, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, Jefferson Airplane, and The Who. Sunday, August 17th, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Santana, Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Winter, and that's not all. Campgrounds will be open for 2 days before the festival. There are over 600 acres of land to roam, bazaars to browse, creative workshops. Heavy traffic is anticipated, so leave early if you wish to arrive on time.
The summer of 1969 was a tumultuous time in America. Protests, the moon landing, cultural upheaval, and the Woodstock Music and Art Fair in August was billed as a grand festival, capping the decade's counterculture revolution. Jimi Hendrix was booked as the headliner. By the time Woodstock took place in upstate New York, Hendrix had augmented his ensemble with additional musicians, 2 percussionists and a rhythm guitarist, temporarily calling the group Gypsy Sun and Rainbows.
So they came, just to ask, Noel is the one who quitted. What about Mitch Michelle? The trombonist.
I think after he, after that, I think Redding, after he quit, there was a time when Jimi announced at the end of the
Okay.
I think he announced the end of now the Jimi Experience band.
Now
He had time to. He was like, it's now time to rebirth. Like to do a rebirth. So I think
again.
yeah.
Oh, now
That's why he looked for the
old
new
friends.
yeah.
Gypsy, now it's Gypsy Sun and the Rainbows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Due to weather delays and logistical chaos, Hendrix didn't hit the Woodstock stage until Monday morning, after the planned 3-day festival had officially ended and many attendees had already left. Still, about 30,000 resilient fans remained at dawn on the 18th of August, 1969, to witness Hendrix's performance, and it was nothing short of iconic. Though visibly tired, Jimi delivered a sprawling, expressive set. The defining moment came when he launched into an improvised solo rendition of The Star-Spangled Banner. With just his white Fender Stratocaster and stacks of amplifiers, Hendrix transformed the US national anthem into a wild sonic painting.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
He made his guitar cry like falling bombs and wail like sirens, a haunting reflection of a nation at war and in turmoil. The distorted, feedback-laden notes mimicked exploding shells and screaming voices, capturing both the horror and hope of the era. Many in the crowd stood slack-jawed, others wept or cheered. In those electrifying minutes, Hendrix managed to turn a patriotic tune into a protest and a prayer without singing a single word.
Okay.
When footage of that moment hit the news, it became one of the most enduring images of the 60s.
Wow.
Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, coaxing anguish and beauty out of his guitar, solidified his reputation as not only a musician but a cultural force.
Like the festival, 500,000 people was a very beautiful turnout. You know. I hope we have more of them, you know. Very nice.
After Woodstock, Hendrix pared back down to the trio format with Cox and Buddy Miles, adopting the official moniker band of...
Now this is now his band.
Yeah.
The band of gypsies. It had Cox and Miles.
Cox, yeah, by the way, and Miles, yeah. He said after the
Cox and Buddy Miles, yeah.
And Buddy Miles.
Okay. Now adopting
the trio format with Cox and Buddy Miles. Adopting the official moniker band of gypsies, they rehearsed intensely through the fall of 1969, crafting a set of new, funk-inflected rock songs. This band had a different vibe, more groove-oriented, rooted in blues and funk rhythms, reflecting Hendrix's expanding musical interests.
Mr. Jimi Hendrix!
No.
Can't trust your...
Well, now it has changed even he's playing a funky, some of funky. It's here. It says full of funky rhythms, rooted in blues and funky rhythms. He's now expanding his musical interest.
Okay.
Oh wow, let's continue.
On New Year's Eve 1969, at the turn of the decade, Band of Gypsies made their debut with a series of 4 concerts at the Fillmore East in New York City. The shows spanning December the 31st and the early hours of January the 1st, 1970, were recorded for a live album, largely to fulfill a contractual obligation Jimi had to produce material for a rival record label.
Oh.
The Band of Gypsies' performances were potent and raw. Songs like the anti-war epic Machine Gun saw Hendrix reaching new heights of improvisational guitar work, screaming and moaning through his instrument as if channeling the violence of the battlefield. Billy Cox's bass lines locked tight with Buddy Miles's heavy drum grooves, giving Hendrix a deep pocket to soar over. The Fillmore crowd was mesmerized by the fresh material. It was as if Hendrix had been reborn as a blues-funk shaman. Less flashy perhaps, but even more soulful. The Band of Gypsies live album, released a few months later, would stand as testament to Hendrix's musical versatility and his refusal to be pigeonholed. Yet even as Hendrix charted new musical ground, some old troubles persisted. One dark cloud lingering over him in 1969 was a serious legal issue. On the 3rd of May 1969, Hendrix had been arrested at Toronto International Airport when authorities discovered small packets of heroin and hashish in his luggage. Jimi was shocked. He claimed the drugs were not his and that perhaps a fan had slipped them into his bag as a misguided gift. Nonetheless, he was charged with drug possession, a crime that carried potentially years of prison time in Canada. Hendrix vehemently maintained his innocence, and those close to him believed he was not a habitual heroin user. His friends attested he actually feared needles and hard drugs. The legal case dragged on throughout 1969, adding immense stress to Jimi's life. Would his soaring career be cut short by jail? In December of that year, Hendrix finally stood trial in Toronto. Taking the witness stand in his flamboyant velvet suit, he charmed the courtroom and explained how fans often gave him random items. Perhaps the illicit substances ended up in his luggage without his knowledge. In a fortunate turn, the jury believed there was reasonable doubt and acquitted him of the charges on the 10th of December, 1969. Hendrix walked out of the Toronto courthouse a free man, deeply relieved and vowing to be more careful. However, the ordeal had taken its toll, exacerbating his exhaustion and disillusionment with the trappings of fame. As the 60s gave way to 1970, Jimi Hendrix found himself at a crossroads. He was the highest paid rock musician in the world and universally acclaimed as a guitar genius.
Highest paid rock musician in the world.
In the world.
Wow.
And as a guitar genius.
Exactly.
It's up to be paid that.
But he was also a young man who had been running full tilt for 4 years, burning the candle at both ends. Friends noticed that Hendrix, now 27, looked older than his years. The perpetual
27?
touring and drug use had made him at times haggard and world-weary. Still, with his legal troubles behind him and new musical ideas percolating, Jimi hoped the new decade might bring renewed focus and stability.
Okay.
The year 1970 opened on a hopeful note for Hendrix. Having released the Band of Gypsys live album and avoided jail, he was eager to continue evolving musically. In February, however, the Band of Gypsys abruptly dissolved after a disastrous concert at Madison Square Garden.
Why?
During that January the 28th show, a winter charity event dubbed the Winter Festival for Peace, Hendrix walked on stage visibly under the influence of something. Some said he had taken a potent dose of LSD or a downer drug. Midway through the set, after mumbling incoherently and playing a disjointed version of Earth Blues, Jimi simply stopped playing, apologized to the audience and walked off. He later said, "I'm sorry, I just can't go on." The incident alarmed his management and left Buddy Miles furious. In the aftermath, Hendrix's manager Mike Jeffrey unilaterally fired Buddy Miles, seeing him as a bad influence, and the Band of Gypsys project was shelved. Hendrix was disappointed. He genuinely liked the music they were making, but he acquiesced and turned back to the familiar. He reunited with drummer Mitch Mitchell. With Billy Cox remaining on bass, this new trio effectively combined the old experience and the Band of Gypsys, forming what some fans call the Cry of Love Band, named after the last tour. Through the spring and summer of 1970, Hendrix, Cox and Mitchell embarked on an extensive tour across America. Dubbed the Cry of Love Tour, it saw Hendrix headlining major arenas and festivals once again. Jimi was still a huge draw. Tens of thousands of fans would gather to witness his magic. At these shows, Hendrix often debuted new material he'd been working on, including songs like Easy Rider, Freedom, and Room Full of Mirrors. The fresh songs had a funkier, earthier feel, reflecting Hendrix's musical growth. His playing was as fiery as ever, but some observed that Hendrix seemed less inclined to stage theatrics now. He was focused on the music itself. He still played hits like PurpleHaze for the crowd, but you could sense his mind roaming ahead to the next chapter. When not on tour, Hendrix dedicated himself to recording what he hoped would be his fourth studio album. A double album he tentatively titled First Rays of the New Rising Sun. In the summer of 1970, a long-time dream of Jimi's came true. He opened his own recording facility in New York City, Electric Lady Studios, a state-of-the-art studio built to his specifications. Finally, he had a comfortable, creative haven where he could record at any hour, experiment with soundscapes, and jam freely without clock-watching record executives. August 1970 saw Jimi practically living in Electric Lady Studios, laying down dozens of tracks and refining his new songs. This period was a creative renaissance for him. Close friends said he was excited about the future, talking about new musical directions and even possible collaborations. Yet hints of burnout were never far. Billy Cox recalled that during the European leg of the tour later that summer, Hendrix was feeling extraordinarily tired and sometimes depressed. Decades of constant travel, loud concerts and chemical use had left him physically run down. By September, the band flew to Europe for a short tour. One of the biggest engagements was the Isle of Wight Festival off the coast of England, where on the 31st of August 1970, Hendrix headlined before an immense crowd, estimated at over 600,000, even larger than Woodstock.
I've read the specs.
It was 600,000 people.
Wow.
Those are really, really a big crowd.
Of course. That's why when you're watching live, you could see people just...
Yeah,
they
by
are
the way,
all over.
we have done that Islay.
Yeah.
One of the songs from the performances.
And it's like Isle. He just pronounced it as Isle.
Oh, that means even on the performance of Isle, we mispronounced it.
Yes.
So that's double Woodstock. I sensed the crowd. It was overwhelming. It was monstrous.
It was a bittersweet homecoming to British soil. On stage in the wee hours at the Isle of Wight, Hendrix delivered a set with flashes of brilliance, yet he also seemed frustrated at times, fighting sound issues, muttering about the cold night, and at one point saying candidly into the mic, "We're just jamming, that's all." Critics later noted that the performance, while strong, lacked some of the fire of earlier days, perhaps a sign of Hendrix's exhaustion. After the Isle of Wight, a few more shows dotted the schedule. On the 6th of September 1970, Hendrix played what would tragically be his final full concert at the open-air Love and Peace Festival on the Isle of Fehmarn in West Germany. The event was marred by bad weather and logistical problems. Hendrix was even reluctant to take the stage due to high winds and rain, but eventually he did, joking to the sparse crowd about the confused skies. Fittingly, he closed that set with VoodooChild, the thunderous anthem that encapsulated his guitar prowess. No one present knew it would be the last song he'd ever play live.
Why?
Jimi returned to London shortly after, looking forward to a break. He spent his final days in the city he loved in a somewhat low-key fashion. There were no big concerts, just time with friends and attempts to recuperate. He was staying part-time with a new girlfriend, Monika Dannemann, a German figure skater whom he had met earlier that year. Monika adored Jimi and tried to provide him a calm environment at her small apartment, the Samarkand Hotel in the Notting Hill area. Hendrix also reconnected with old friends around town. On the 16th of September 1970, he made a surprise late-night appearance at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in Soho, joining his friend Eric Burden, formerly of The Animals, and Burden's new band War for an impromptu jam. Jimi played a blues number or two, a final brief spark on stage, before slipping away into the night. Those who saw him that evening noted he played beautifully but seemed a little subdued, as if deep in thought. On the 17th of September 1970, Hendrix spent the day with Monika Dannemann. They strolled through London's funky Camden Market and Kensington, at one point meeting up casually with Kathy Etchingham by chance. Kathy noticed Jimi looked tired and had even grown a bit of a grey tinge in his dark hair. The two chatted politely, a brief reunion of past lovers, and Kathy walked away with an uneasy feeling that Jimi was not in a good state. That night, Jimi attended a small party and then returned to Monika's flat very late, around 3 a.m. Feeling restless and unable to sleep, he apparently took some sleeping pills, Vesperax tablets prescribed to Monika, to help him rest. Sometime in the early hours of the 18th of September, 1970, Jimi Hendrix's brilliant life came to a tragic end. Monika Dannemann awoke in the morning to find Jimi unconscious and unresponsive, breathing faintly. Panicked, she called for an ambulance. Hendrix was rushed to St Mary Abbott's Hospital, but it was too late. The young man who had electrified the world was pronounced dead late that morning, just a few weeks shy of his 28th birthday.
Jimi Hendrix, popular electric guitarist and idol of the acid rock generation, died today in London, apparently from an overdose of drugs.
The news of Jimi Hendrix's death sent shockwaves around the globe. Fans and friends alike were stunned that this vibrant musical force was suddenly gone.
27
In London,
years.
radio stations played his songs in tribute as distraught admirers gathered outside the hospital and his Brook Street flat to lay flowers and mourn. Fellow musicians, many of whom had
I feel like this was a painful moment for everyone because just at 27.
Yeah,
Of
turning
course,
28.
yeah, he looked like he was going through a lot during his last days. He
Yeah.
looked, even when he was performing, he was like in some thoughts or something. But at 27, I feel like he still had a lot of time,
Exactly. And what
he could
feels
maybe achieved more if he were, maybe he wanted some maybe someone to listen to. Maybe he was going through a lot secretly, maybe not talking to maybe
anyone?
someone.
Yeah, and they are
Mhm.
talking about marijuana and LSD. What is LSD? I don't know about LSD. And then that night, he said the narrator tells us that he took a sleeping pill prescribed to the girl. That's I can't get the name.
Prescribed to
Yeah, it was
Monica. It was
Monica, yeah, prescribed to Monica. So
Monica was the girlfriend.
the girlfriend at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
So what other drug that did he overdose? Is it the pills? The
Maybe
sleeping
he
pills?
took many pills,
Sleeping pills.
and maybe he, the mixture of some substances like the other drugs with
Yeah.
medication cannot
Heroin.
go very well.
And
That's
it's
why.
sleeping pills. Huh?
Yes.
Flat to lay flowers and mourn. Fellow musicians, many of whom had considered Jimmy a friend or at least a respected colleague, were heartbroken.
Yeah.
It scared me because he was clearly going to be a huge star.
Exactly.
Here was the real thing. Eric Clapton had once said of first seeing Hendrix.
Mhm.
Now the real thing was no more.
The night that he died, I was supposed to meet him at the Lyceum to see Sly Stone play. And I brought with me a left-handed Stratocaster. And it's the only, I've just found it. And I think I bought it at Orange Music. I'd never seen one before and I was going to give it to him. And he was in a box over there and I was in a box over here. And I could see him, but I couldn't, we never got together. And the next day, whack, he was gone and I was left with that left-handed Stratocaster.
Oh. That's sad.
Hendrix's death was ruled an accident. He had asphyxiated on his own vomit after taking an overdose of sleeping pills mixed with wine. There was no evidence of suicide. It appeared to be a tragic misjudgment by an utterly exhausted man seeking a little peace. Some in Hendrix's circle, including Eric Burdon and Kathy Etchingham, later raised questions about the circumstances, inconsistencies in Monica's account and the emergency response, but no definitive answers ever emerged.
Yeah.
Kathy, reflecting on the loss of the man she had loved, lamented the simple truth. Jimmy died because the simple things got complicated. In those poignant words, she encapsulated how Hendrix's extraordinary life had become entangled in turmoil by the end, and how the gentle soul at the center of the storm was overwhelmed.
So according to his judgment, he was taking the pills to make him relax well.
Yes.
Oh, so
He wanted some sleep. That's why he took some the sleeping
the
pills
sleeping pills.
and mixing it with wine.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And but I've seen others were questioning the girlfriend on his or her emergency response.
Mhm.
Maybe she responded. Someone who has been using drugs heavily, you couldn't know that he's maybe on drugs or maybe going on an emergency issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you can't blame her more.
But she called for an
Ambulance, yeah.
So she
The story of
realized that.
Jimi Hendrix from his arrival in London to his untimely death spans just 4 years, a mere moment in time, yet its impact on music and culture is immeasurable. In London, Hendrix had found the creative acceptance and audience that eluded him in America, and in turn he helped revolutionize the British rock scene, influencing a generation of musicians with his
Yeah.
imaginative playing. His personal journey was one of spectacular highs and deep lows. We saw Jimmy, the exuberant performer, setting his guitar aflame to conjure new musical fire. We saw Jimmy, the sensitive poet, writing LittleWing and Angel with a fragile, heartfelt touch. We saw him revel in love and friendship, the shy, funny young man Kathy Etchingham fell for. And we saw how the pressures of fame and excess took their toll on that very spirit. In the end, Jimi Hendrix's life is remembered as a comet across the sky of the 1960s.
Mhm.
Brilliant, beautiful, and angel, with a fragile, heartfelt touch. We saw how the pressures of fame and excess took their toll on that very spirit. In the end, Jimi Hendrix's life is remembered as a comet across the sky of the 1960s. Brilliant, beautiful, and all too brief. He was just 27 when he left this world, joining the tragic pantheon of youthful rock icons, yet his artistic legacy only grew larger with time. His recordings continue to astonish new listeners. His once radical techniques are now fundamental to rock guitar playing. Hendrix's influence can be heard in countless riffs, seen in every amplifier pushed to its limits. And his story, a story of a gifted outsider who came to London with nothing but talent and changed the world, remains an inspiration. In the words of one of his friends, he could be grumpy and he could be terrible in the studio, but he was fun, he was charming. I want people to remember the man I knew. And so we do. Jimi Hendrix, the man and the musician. When Jimi Hendrix arrived in London, there was already an album that had changed the electric guitar forever, released the previous year. If you want to find out why that album had such an influence on so many guitar players, click the thumbnail on screen.
Okay.
Oh, wow. May his soul rest in peace.
Exactly.
And
Wow.
you'll remain forever young and forever the guitar legend.
Yeah, and even I feel like wow, he was at some point I was asking myself like how was he able to manage all that, because from the moment he started exploring his life in the 60s, like he was just releasing albums and songs, just going to performance, like he was doing all that like back to back without any rest. Like this year he released, and the next he released like he just did all that without any like just even resting and even or pausing for a while.
And remember all these that we have listened, like he has like 3-4 albums, all these ups and downs just happened in a period of 4 years. Yeah, the success and the fall just in 4 years. Oh, that's incredible. But he will remain just a genius. And his music is timeless. Remember, we are just uncovering his journey on 2025.
Of course, it's timeless,
Yeah.
and his fans are still just remembering what they got back then. They still remember the energy, the guitars and all that. Like it's really timeless.
Yeah, so we have been we've had a lot of I think we've done 1 to 3 songs from him, but not from the specific albums that he had released.
Yeah, I think we did some singles.
HeyJoe.
The single. I think we've done like 3 or 4 his songs.
Yeah, and also it's late performance of weight that he performed. So many are coming, guys. So thank you, Dan, for introducing us to Jimi Hendrix. Thank you for giving us his background story. Now we know much about him. And we can even share here to our friends.
Yes,
to make them knowledgeable more. So more to come on his now musical journey.
Yeah, it's great that we have been able to listen to his story and know how his journey started, how it ended, and now jumping into his songs we will be jumping knowing much about him.
Exactly. If you see the drummies, the band, if it's Jimi, the Jimi experience, we know. Then if it comes to it's Gary or what? Gypsy. Yeah, if it comes to the third band that he formed, we are now aware of even the sequence of events on his life. So guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to share your comments on the comment section. Yeah, you can react much you don't know about the narrator. Maybe he has added or maybe not tackled any of the story. You can add any story that you know.
Yes, we will be waiting. Thank you so much for your time.
We are out.
Bye bye.